There are very few cars on sale today that make you want to get up before the sun rises and take them for a proper drive. The Porsche 911 GT3 is one of them, and that's exactly what we've done today. I'm John Law, this is Chasing Cars, and this should be a fun video. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by The changes to the .2 midlife facelift of the 992 generation 911 are pretty slim, but they do add up to quite an effective change. It looks much tidier and cleaner with the new headlights and front bumper, and there's actually a lot of changes under the skin. This car here may not be the Touring, which is available with rear seats at no cost for the first time. Actually, this GT3 with the wing is too, but this car shows off some really cool options that are all new for this .2 generation GT3 that were previously RS specialties only. One of them is the Weissach Package that I'll get into more in a minute. Then you've got these gorgeous, true magnesium center lock wheels here, which look amazing. I do have to point out some shortcomings of this 911, this 992 generation, and it starts with the door handles, which just feel tinny and a little bit cheap in the hands. The second is, once we get in, clamber into the bucket seats. But the next issue I have with this car are the cup holders. There's one over there for the passenger, but unlike the 991, you now have this dicky thing here which gets in the way of shifting if you have a bottle in there. And finally, the reverse camera on the 992.2 is unbelievably bad, but everything else in here is gorgeous. It is an ergonomic masterpiece. With these bucket seats, the driving position is perfect. The steering wheel falls just to hand. You have all of the controls you could ever want. The 6-speed manual feels amazing, mechanical and notchy. Carbon door pulls as well. It all feels very motorsport. But enough of my blabbering on about the things I like and the fact that this car has a very tasteful extended leather steering column option. And well, I think we should cold start this car and get on the way because we're quickly running out of time to get to the racetrack. So, sport mode, foot on the brake, clutch, and then we get the lovely twist of the ignition that you don't get on the regular 911s in the GT3 to pull it into life. We have a long, dull drive up first, so we'll cover the changes to the GT3's 4-litre flat 6, based around needing more emissions equipment, 2 petrol particulate filters and 4 catalytic converters. This necessitated some creative tuning from Porsche's GT department. There are revised cylinder heads, throttle bodies, and there are now hotter camshafts, which increase drama beyond 5,000 RPM and preserve the 375 kilowatt power figure. Torque drops by 20 Newton meters to 450 Newton meters, though this is essentially cancelled out by an 8% shorter final drive ratio from the 911 ST. The manual's 0 to 100k an hour sprint remains at 3.9 seconds and it tops out at 313 k's an hour. Cooling has been stepped up for continuous lapping in hot conditions too, and that is what's first on the menu. It's not the Nürburgring Nordschleife, it's not Mount Panorama, it's One Raceway. A scrappy little circuit 2 hours south of Sydney, but I happen to love this place. It feels like a home away from home for me because I spent hours in the timing tower that used to be over there doing Chasing Cars news stories and doing my uni work when I first started out in this job. I'm really excited to try it. It's my first time here as One Raceway, and I think the GT3 is going to be the perfect tool for it because although it's not a super fast circuit, it's all about flow and carrying momentum. So this manual GT3 with the Weissach package should be, well, some kind of perfect tool for the job. The car we're in, as I said, has the Weissach package, carbon roll cage, regular Cup 2s, and it is essentially halfway to a GT3 RS. You don't have any of the active aero. You do have adjustable rear wing, so you can tweak the balance. We've got it set to the most aggressive setting. Manual gearbox, obviously. Auto blip is enableable. I've got it turned off right now just for an extra layer of challenge and fun because it's a manual, and after all, it's not about ultimate lap times. It is about joy. And just cruising around, getting the tires feeling nice. They're Cup 2s, as I said, so they do require a little bit of heat from cold this morning. First time out, they're a little bit skiddy, but they're feeling pretty gripped up now. Coming through the last little complex here. nice high-speed section before the banking. This is a great little racetrack. Well, you're just going to come for a little ride along with me as we come through 12, beautiful banking, hanging out wide, into 13, wait. Greedy on the curb, down the main straight. And this car is just ridiculously confidence-inspiring. You can outbrake yourself. Big slides. That's not fast, but my goodness, is it fun! Woohoo! Little brake there for safety. Whoa, getting all out of shape there. I have to do another one after this. Again, it's really, really good, this car, but if you get greedy, it's still a rear engine 911. Because we're on track, we have ESC all the way off. So, no safety net here. Yep. Got voice command coming on here. Big brake into that last corner. Oh, that feels good, the rotation. A little bit too much there. You got to be careful on the brakes in this thing.
Porsche's tweaked the pivot points on the GT3's front suspension to give it greater anti-dive and a flatter platform under brakes for easier trail braking. And it is really hard to develop understeer on turn-in and easy to get rotation in this car. It's a fact aided by the Michelin Cup 2s, which are detectably pointier at the front than the Pirellis that we also sampled on track.
Let's try and get this a little bit better. Braking into turn 2 a little sooner, a little harder, lighter on the brake through there. Stab of oppo. Squeeze the throttle. Oh, interesting. Those shorter ratios mean I can't quite hold all the way third through there, but I can roll through this section in third beautifully. Just floating the car. Oh, down the hill here at One Raceway. Oh, taking it easy into the fishhook. Nice rotation. I just can't get over the ease of rotation in this car. It is delightful. Oh, the fact that we're going to go on a road drive after this is pretty wild to me. Feel that. What a car. Oh, all right. One last lap. We'll try and have a little bit of fun through the fishhook. Brake a little bit earlier here for this one. Oh, the balance on throttle. You can just play with this car. And this isn't even the RS. Holy moly. Andreas Preuninger. In today's age, where everything is electric, it all feels like it's becoming a little bit the same. We can still have this fun on a racetrack. Here we go. One last flick for fun. Oh boy. And you got to remember that this car's just on steel brakes. They don't even carbon ceramics. The pedal's gone a little bit longer than it started out as, but it still feels really good. Lots of bite and confidence through there. That was good fun. Hopefully we enjoyed a skid or two, everybody.
Weight will always matter in a 911 GT3, and the changes to the Dot 2 have added 2 kilograms in the car's lightest configuration. Though at 1,462 kilos for the Australian spec manual, it is heavier unless you spend big on the Weissach Package and lightweight options. What matters more though is the GT3's bandwidth, because unlike an RS, this car needs to perform out on the road as well, and the old car was a little stiff. The Dot 2 uses better adaptive damper technology borrowed from 911 ST for a softer setup without sacrificing body control. There's also 25mm more stroke in the suspension thanks to reprofiled bump stops. These changes and those two aerodynamics that you can't see under the skin mean that the touring and winged examples now use identical suspension setups. Let's see how they perform on the road.
We've spent a lot of time in this 911 today, and I'm really glad we did it the way around where we started on the racetrack and enjoyed the road drive afterwards, because I feel like it got the
madness and, you know, close to 10/10ths driving out of the system before getting to enjoy some really beautiful picturesque roads. So that would be my advice. It also means that you have to treat the car relatively nicely on the racetrack to make sure it's all good for the road loop afterwards. And we've learned a lot in said loop. We've driven on some awful roads with some nasty bumps, some roadworks on gravel, and every single thing the GT3 has pretty much shaken off. There are a few foibles to this car, but they're because it's so good, if that makes sense. The first is the sound. It's very loud on the freeway. It is extremely loud, actually, and it's not the engine, although it is churning around 3,200 RPM at 110 k's an hour, and we're consuming 14.5 litres per 100 k's, which is quite high, but we did do a track day. And the visibility is the other issue in this car particularly. Not forwards, which is superb, and one of the main reasons you'd buy a 911 over something more exotic looking. Actually, the visibility issue's out the back because we've got the old climbing gin back there and that massive wing. All solved in a touring pack equipped car without the roll cage. Otherwise though, it's bloody brilliant. Even the ride quality on scabby, unpleasant Australian roads is superb. The adaptive dampers, they've got 2 stages, a normal, which is kind of sport, and you've also got track as well. And track is really not entirely worth using on the road because it's stiffer, and the moving about of the GT3 is half of its joy, to be quite honest with you. The way that you can play with the balance at all times is the whole point. And coming back to the noise, it's an attribute because it makes you feel like you're in something special, because you are. The chuntery sounds, the guttural motorsporty noises, you can hear the differential whine sometimes at low speeds. The gearbox is a little bit knuckly. You can hear the rear diff working as well, a little bit of ch-ch-ch-ch. It's all part of the beautiful dance that this car puts on for you as something that is to be admired. It's not polished to within an inch of its life. It feels like a motorsport bred vehicle. And that's really, really cool. It's so awesome that Porsche has managed to maintain that feel in the current era. Emissions regulated, the fact that this car exists, sounds like this, feels like this, and gives you all of those secondary noises and feelings is so good. But of course, the real reason you buy one of these cars, and the real reason you're watching this video, is because they're fun to drive quickly. And as I said, the GT3 has these wonderful layers, and that's possibly what surprised me the most about this car. I knew it was going to be amazing on the racetrack. It was kind of a given. No, it's not an RS, but goodness gracious, if you've never driven an RS, you kind of wouldn't know it, especially with this sort of GT3S spec with the cage and the wing and all of those sorts of things, the bucket seats, the magnesium wheels. It's pretty towy. No, it's the way that you can enjoy this car at 5, 6, 7 tenths on the road, which is where you should be driving on the public highway, never faster than that, because you just don't know what's around the next bend. And where something like a McLaren, for example, feels so tied down, so competent, so good at what it does, the GT3 has a bit of a level of belligerence. A lot of it comes from that rear engine balance. You get a little bit of bob at the front end. Yes, it's almost completely gone, especially with the new suspension setup of the 992 generation. But there's still that inherent lightness to the nose, and that means you can carry the brakes into a corner and generate a little bit of movement if you want. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can also get movement on the way out on the throttle by being patient, waiting for the rotation in the middle of the corner, and squeezing the gas and letting the mechanical limited slip differential do its thing. It is so much fun, and the level of grip is stunningly good. And yet, as you see then, it still brings the rear axle into play, and it feels like you're doing it. There's an analog nature to this car that is so quickly disappearing in overly digital performance cars we're getting today. The steering as well shatters away to you all the time. It may be electric, but Porsche has got that absolutely nailed in this car. The brake pedal, the ABS, the way it's all calibrated, is all there with you to give you all the tools you need to do to either demolish a racetrack or just have a really, really good time driving on the road. And even when you're just cruising along, through flowing, sweeping bends, 4th and 5th gear, you find that you can actually play with that balance as well. And because this car now has that shorter final drive ratio, you can play with the transmission, which is delightfully knuckly and satisfying. It's not super short in its throw, but it feels so mechanical and hefty. I don't know why you'd buy the PDK. I mean, I do know why, because it's faster, more energetic, and you get the active diff thrown in for free. But having spent a whole day with this car, including driving on track, for me, someone who's not totally obsessed with lap times, the manual transmission is where it's at. And now unlocking those shorter ratios just adds another dimension to this fantastic little car.
Then there's the elephant in the room with the 911 GT3. The price. We haven't spoken about it, but it is steep. The base is $446,700 for this MY25 example, and this red car has some huge options. The big contributors are the Weissach Package with the roll cage in carbon fibre for nearly $50,000. Those forged magnesium wheels are over $30,000, the lightweight bucket seats are $13,000, and the extended leather interior sets you back an extra $11,210, plus a couple of other options. Pause the screen if you want to see all the features of this particular car, but it adds up to $574,680 before on-road costs.
What a day. Motorways, bumpy roads, racetracks, and even a little bit of unexpected gravel. This has been an honest test of the new 992.2 Porsche 911 GT3 in a slightly strange spec, combining the manual with the Weissach package of the full-fat GT3, not the touring grade. But I think this car's really cool. It's really gotten under my skin. It's awesome. From going full out at the racetrack to just cruising on country roads and even on the motorway. It's loud, the reverse camera is terrible still, and those door handles are really annoying, but the whole package just makes me smile. I love this car. Even though it costs the same as 11 MX-5s or 5 Toyota Supras, it is just awesome. You have to appreciate the engineering nous of being able to get a 4-litre naturally aspirated flat 6 making 375 kilowatts onto the road with 4 catalytic converters and 2 petrol particulate filters and still sounding and feeling as good as that. What a wicked, wicked car. You know, here at Chasing Cars, we don't say these things lightly, but this is about as close to a 10 out of 10 car as we've ever driven here at the channel. So as awesome as a Mazda MX-5 is, this is indeed worth 11 of those, at least in our opinion here. But I'd love to hear your comments, thoughts, and feedback. And I'd also love to hear your thoughts on an epic day out like this, because this is what these cars are made for. Everything from a $5,000 banger to a $500,000 Porsche up to a $5 million Ferrari should be exercised like this, because it is seriously good fun, and we've got to do it while we can. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Chasing Cars.